Well, healthcare costs have always been going up higher than inflation overall. I mean, the good news is I think inflation in general is moderating. We've seen this throughout the world as, the pandemic, just with the supply chain shortages, caused a lot of that. What isn't going to happen is that, like prices are not going to go back to where they were pre-pandemic. And so, the rate of inflation, inflationary increases, I think, are going to slow, and they already are. So I think it's that always it's going to be it's going to cause pressure, I think, on the healthcare system, in terms of spending and the like. But I do think that we're going to see it normalize a little bit over the next couple of years. As far as the longer term, I think it's a big challenge. I mean, a lot of what we see in the healthcare system is driven by government policy, particularly in Medicare. And the Medicare system needs to get fixed at some point, I suppose, is, it continues to eat up a greater share of government spending in particular. So it's an ongoing challenge. I think it has come back to more, or is likely to go back to more of the normal challenges that we had as pre-pandemic. But it's still, there's still sort of a looming crisis out there about like how we're going to fund the U.S. healthcare system over the longer term. And, that I think is at some point we're going to have to figure that out. I'm not sure, given where we are right now politically, how exactly that will play out, but it certainly will need to get handled at some point.
I think that's also a pretty big imperative. I think we've been noticing over the last decade the rising of healthcare costs, and now that we have this inflation, I think the implications are pretty massive. And I think, to your point, I don't know how we solve that first world problem, but I know we need to do that.
Well, at some point, right, healthcare costs can't take over the entire economy. It crowds out all sorts of other spending as well. So there's all sorts of choices. None of them are particularly fun, but I do think that it can. The great news is that there's a lot of technology and tech-driven change that's out there, which can make healthcare more affordable. And so, if you get the right policy lined up with that, we can find a way to sort of drive, at least get healthcare costs to keep more in line with economic growth.